Welcome to Cowgirl Talk, where we empower you to live authentically through real food, real talk, and real life. Sisters brought together by our love of cows. We're your host, Emily, a dairy lover and personal trainer living in Florida.
And Becca, a corporate cowgirl holding down the family fort in Pennsylvania. Let's go, cowgirls!
Hello, and welcome back to Cowgirl Talk. Today's episode is going to be a topic that I feel like many of us have experiences with, but maybe don't want to talk about because it feels awkward. It makes us feel a little bit weird and lonely, or it makes you feel great. But we're going to be diving into adult friendships, or really just making friends as adults, especially as women, as that is what we have the experience with. And I feel like this is going to be a really fun and insightful episode to allow you to feel like, oh, I'm not alone in how I'm feeling, but also give some tips and tricks that maybe have helped us, because Becca and I both have different experiences with this of post-college life. And so I think it'll be a really great conversation to take away from. But as always, we got to start with our highs and lows of the week. So Becca, would love to hear what's been going on for you this past week.
Yes, so the first one is a follow-up from our last episode. Whenever we talked about what we were excited about, what was going to happen. So I went to our DGN retreat, which was our annual planning and starting to do our strategic planning for the organization. And it was in Indiana, which I can't remember the last time I've been to Indiana.
Me either.
I think I've been there once with our dad, and I really don't remember it.
We drove through it.
Yeah, we drove through it. And so it was really nice. And we made this realization that we have never gotten together in person outside of a dairy event to just focus on DGN and how we can empower women in the dairy industry. So it was rejuvenating. It was fun. At the end, at one point, we were, doing takeaways. And one person said, hey, my takeaway is that I just genuinely really like all of you. And I thought,
so yay.
Nice. Because, honestly, it's hard to walk away from a meeting and like everybody,
True. Very true.
That was a lot of fun. And then another high I had, I'm giving two because it's
been
just a good week. And so we do a lot of meal trains here where I'm at. And we do a meal train is just where you set up and sign up for different days for a meal for a family who just had a baby or been sick, etc. So our one friend's sister has been sick. And so we've been helping their family, and we signed up for a meal on the meal train. And I made these turkey ranch buffalo cups, I think they're called, from that Aubrey show in case.
I was going to say, I was like, that sounds like a familiar recipe.
Or I still call her Kale Couture. And
same.
I dropped them off like that, fries, one of those dill salad mixes, dessert. But she texted me and said, oh my God, I need this recipe. This is so good. This is so cool. And so there's nothing better than when you give someone food or you make something and people love it and then ask for the recipe. And so then we were talking about it, and she was saying all the things she loved, like it was kid approved, it's great for events, it was quick, it was cute. I was like, yes.
She was just blowing smoke, and you're just like, oh my God.
I know, Joe,
thank you.
You're not going to fit through the door when we get home. I was like, no.
My ego is through the roof.
But actually, then that leads into my low, which was also about food. And I was all jazzed about the food I made, especially after we talked about it on our podcast, Healthy Eating. I was like, I've nailed it this week with the meal prepping. And the one was that I remade the vodka meatball soup.
Yeah.
Remember the time I made it whenever there was mold in the jar?
Yeah. You're like, is this safe? We're like, well, you're still here. So obviously it was fine.
So I made it without a moldy jar lid.
So maybe the mold made it.
It might have, but it was not a hit. It just wasn't that good. And it was kind of soggy. And I was really bummed because I got some really good footage of it too to put on Instagram. And I was like, I can't lie.
The chef moment was ruined.
And so Joe made it through, and I could tell he was pretty quiet during dinner. I was like, you didn't like this, did you? He goes, I'm sorry, honey. This is a lot for me.
Oh man. I feel like sometimes soup is hit or miss.
Yeah, and I was just, it was the one I was like really excited about for the week.
Mm-hmm.
And then you eat it. So,
Mm.
but highs and lows. I guess our lives typically revolve around food and friends. But
Yeah, we're foodies, so it's funny that a lot of it revolves around those things.
but Em, I think you also have a bit of a follow up from our last podcast, don't you?
Yeah, so my high is similar to yours in terms of being a little bit of a follow up, but also similar in kind of the content of it. So, this past week, or I guess kind of almost 2 weeks ago now, I was finally able to get together in person with my Dairy Girl Fitness coaching team. And this was the first time that all of us have been together in person like that. And it was just amazing. And kind of like you said, getting together in person really just can lead to some really awesome outcomes that you just can't necessarily have online. The coaches and I chat all the time. We have calls every single week, but getting together in person, you really just get to connect in a little bit of a deeper way and just have conversations that and ideas even that maybe wouldn't happen otherwise. I mean, we had some ideas that they almost seem so simple and it's like we could have come up with this any other week, but being together in person really just allowed the ideas to flow. And so we were really able to brainstorm some solid ideas for being coaches, for clients. We got a photo shoot done, which
Woo!
yes, this photo shoot was so much fun. We broke out the OG Dairy Girl Fitness jacket, and all the coaches got to wear
Yeah.
it. We got our pictures back, and mm, it was
I love
beautiful.
that you still brought that back because even though you have evolved as a person, which is like symbolized through your hair, I
Mm-hmm.
think, there's still that nod to like, hey, this is the OG Dairy Girl Fitness. We're still here. And I love that.
Yeah.
Can you give us any sneak peeks of anything new that Dairy Girl Fitness is going to be bringing us?
I think we're trying to find a way to really maybe create an alumni program with Dairy Girl Fitness. So we work with,
Oh,
yeah, well, we work with a
that's
lot of
unique.
women in different periods of time, but a lot of women work with us to where they can then feel confident going off their own, or maybe they don't need the same level of support because our one-on-one coaching is pretty high support, high
Yeah.
level. And so we'd love to create a way for ladies to still stay involved with Dairy Girl Fitness at a little bit of a lower commitment. So that's
Oh,
that's an idea that we'd like to work on.
I like that. That's
Hmm.
hmm,
Yeah, just
I
trying to
like
be a professional, real biz, all of those things.
innovation that excites Dairy Girl Fitness.
Yes, where is that from? What's that from?
I have no idea.
Is that from
It's from a movie or something.
or is it like the PG or the washer slogan or something?
Oh, it might be. I always use it for like non-corporate things, when someone puts something new in food or, it's like,
I
oh,
love it.
innovation that excites.
Becca out claiming another thing for herself.
I
Cheater.
swear I'm original.
None of us are original at this point with social media, but
True.
one of my last highs, still within the retreat, is going to freaking Disney World. And last episode, I mentioned, okay, is this going to be a high? Is this going to be a low? I'm not sure. But it was so, so much fun. We had park hopper passes. And so we went to all four Disney parks in one day. We were in Disney for 15 hours. We were in the parks from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. I'm exhausted for you. Do your feet still hurt?
Mine were good. And the thing
So
with
you
Disney's,
walk like a bajillion miles a day. You're good at that.
yes, I try, but it's also a lot of potentially waiting in lines, right? And so
Yeah.
I felt really good, and it was just fun to be able to kind of have a mission of okay, we're going to try to get in these rides, do these parks, and we started at Animal Kingdom because it opens the earliest, and then we hit up Hollywood Studios, then Epcot, and then we ended at Magic Kingdom because Magic Kingdom stays open till 11 p.m., which I had no idea. I maybe it's just a weekend thing, but we were able to hit up most major rides. Of course, you have to make some sacrifices, but we were able to get in. I feel like the big Disney things in our day.
Yeah. That's awesome. So then what
Yeah.
was your low?
So my low would be probably this week. I luckily and am very blessed to have a bit more of a flexible schedule, right? I kind of make my schedule, but I've been falling into hitting the snooze button a little bit more often, which that's my own doing. So it's not necessarily a low out of anything else other than my own I don't want to call it laziness, but just yes, hitting the snooze button is something that I feel like everyone maybe struggles with a little bit, but I've just gotten a little bit too lackadaisy with it this past week.
Yeah. Well, maybe your body just needed the rest.
Yeah, see, that's also a thing of like me telling myself, oh, I'm tired. I just need the rest when I know I still had a good amount of sleep.
You're 9 hours in. Oh, I definitely need this rest.
Exactly. That's where's that fine line of, oh, my body needs rest. Also, just get up, Emily, and stop being lazy. So yeah, not nothing too bad, but I'm calling myself out. Maybe this will hold me accountable in doing so.
Well, don't count on me to hold you accountable
We're
because
useless for each other on this.
I'm useless on this. My free yoga is ending, so I'm going back to not
Oh,
5:30 a.m. classes. It's just not for me.
you
Early
tried.
early mornings aren't for me. You
You
know?
tried. Yeah, at least you
Yeah,
can say you put in the effort. And Ruben, he's a big morning guy, but he also
yeah,
travels a lot for work. And so that's the thing, too. If he's not here, it's like, okay, well, no one else is really getting up early. What's the point?
yeah. Snooze away, girlfriend. Snooze away.
Don't encourage this behavior. But aside
Oh,
from being Disney adults, snoozing too much, and good and bad recipes, excited to dive into the meat and potatoes of this episode.
yeah,
And again, I thought this topic would be fun because it's something I know that we all deal with, but maybe people feel good or bad way about it, but no one really talks about it, maybe a little bit more now. But
yeah,
growing up, you're just placed into so many scenarios and experiences to really easily make friends, right? I mean, that's kind of the creation of everything we did: school, sports,
yep,
activities, even going to college, having roommates. It is just so easy and just so normal to kind of make friends and talk to people and not feel weird about it. And then the real world hits, or maybe you move away, or whatever happens. And then making friends as adults, it can feel fun, but it can also feel
yeah.
awkward, weird, hard. And sometimes like you don't belong at the cool kids table. And it definitely take a hit at your confidence and even just your ego a little bit, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like you were saying, even, if you went to college too, school in general is literally structured around making relationships that are more geared towards friendship. Whereas whenever you
Mm-hmm.
get into adult world and you start working, the relationships that you're creating are more so working towards a common goal for a business. And it's just not the same. You're not put together to have fun. You're put together to make the company X more profit. And it's just not the same motivation to build a relationship as when we were younger. So I'm super excited. But I'm curious what you think, how like making friends as an adult, it's not going to be the same, and it probably shouldn't be the same because we're all living our own lives. So it's how can you find friends that you can share your life with, I think. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but social media does not help with feeling like you're doing a terrible job at everything, number one.
Yes.
But also, I'm curious your thoughts on how social media can just bring you down about having or not having enough friends
Mm-hmm.
as an adult.
Yeah, and I think it's an important area to touch on because social media can be really cool in terms of having really unique opportunities to meet people you wouldn't meet otherwise. Again, I was able to meet my coaches through social media and we got
Yeah.
together in person, and otherwise without it, who knows if we ever excuse me, would have connected. But majority of social media, while it can have the really great parts, like you said, it can really just make you feel like you're garbage at everything. And I mean, you are able to compare yourself to literally anything and anyone, and majority
Yeah.
of people are always posting the highs, right? And so I think there's even kind of like the epidemic of loneliness right now. And I know we can't necessarily compare it to maybe different times because social media wasn't there, but so many people, it's like, oh, we're all so connected. But I think so many people still feel really lonely. And social media can kind of make you almost feel lame. It can kind of make you feel like a
Yeah.
loser almost if you don't have this ginormous friend group, or if you're not doing something all of the time, or if you're not going on a million brand trips a year. It can be like, what's wrong with me? Or what am I doing wrong? When in reality, there's a lot of people who maybe have smaller friend groups or are still just navigating this and figuring out, how do I create this circle for myself?
Yeah. And I think the whole idea of being alone and being good with yourself alone is a whole other topic. But
Mm-hmm.
um I think what I would love to tell you about is how I've navigated this, because
Mm-hmm.
what I'm really excited about is that you and I both put a lot of emphasis on building and maintaining friendships. Like,
Yeah.
that is something that is really important to both of us. And I think that's just because that's how we grew up. I mean, we grew up being best friends with our siblings and our
Mm-hmm.
parents, and then them always encouraging us to do things. So I think it's just been ingrained in us that this is important, and we've had positive experiences with it. So we continue seeking it. And we like being in a group setting. We like that comfort of people around us. But you and I will have different approaches or experiences with this, because you had to move, or you chose
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
move
I
to
had to,
New
but I also
Orleans.
chose to do it.
Ruben kidnapped you.
He took me away.
But so you had to learn how to navigate this in a totally new landscape,
Yeah.
whereas I still had to make new friends as an adult based on my own decisions, and I was more familiar with the landscape, we'll say.
Yeah. Yes. So I am very excited
Yeah.
for that just because, again, we all have different perspectives on this, but no matter what, and again, it's okay if you do like more alone time or if you have a really small friend group or if you have a really big friend group, but relationships and connection are what make us human.
Mhm.
And like you said, we all have kind of connections as adults. Maybe it's a gym connection, a work connection, but true, just like girlfriends, friends, those type of connections are so important and so valuable to us. So
Yeah.
I also have to say before you even dive in is that I'm even kind of, I would say, jealous almost of how, or envious of how you've created your friend group or of how, yeah, flip the hair, whatever. But like you said, growing up, I think having siblings and even just having a really small school, you're always all very connected. And you've done such a good job of still surrounding yourself online, but also really in person of really awesome ladies. I mean, you were talking about a meal train, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's not something I've ever done. Who knows when I'll ever do that? But that's so cool. And I'm so curious, and all the listeners, I'm sure, if it's like, we want to make friends, how have you done that for yourself?
Yeah. So I think that there's two categories to this. One is making new friends, and then one is maintaining friendships.
Mm,
And so I think right now what I would love to share is more so the okay, post college era, and how I've
hmm.
made like this amazing group of girlfriends here that we call ourselves the Berg Babes. Like, listen,
Oh,
we're
God.
adults, we're in our 30s, but we're millennials, okay? We still have our like Facebook photo album name.
Yes.
But then we can, I think, dive into maybe more of
Hmm.
those friendships you had in college. Like, how do we even maintain them, right?
Yeah,
Because you
for
had
sure.
these, and then you leave the bubble that you were in. So whenever I moved, I graduated college, and I had made the decision to take a job that allowed me to work from home and live at home. And so I, for the first year after college, lived with my dad. Well, our dad.
He's both of ours. I claim him.
Mine. And so I I just didn't maintain a lot of my friendships from high school. Not in a bad way. It's just we all went separate ways, and just so I didn't
Hmm.
really have them even though I came home. And then I decided, okay, well, you know what? I need to go out and meet people. And I saw on Facebook there was a local gym that opened up, Point of Fitness. So I thought, all right, let's go to these group classes, right? These women
Yep.
obviously want to like use socialization as an excuse or a cover for exercise, and that's my kind of person.
Heck yeah.
And so I went, and I saw this girl Elle there who I used to play softball with in middle school. And I had like seen her before, but was always afraid to go up and say something to her. Like one time I will never forget this. I would love to know if she remembers this. But I saw her in American Eagle and I literally hid because I knew her, but I didn't want to be embarrassed of like her not remembering me.
That's the epitome of adult friendships, of making adult friendships.
But at the gym, I said, you know what? Screw this. I went up to her. I said, hey, do you remember me? We were on Rizzo's softball team together. She goes, oh my God, yeah, Becca. Hey, this is my friend Chelsea Kerr. Are you going to keep coming to this class? And then so I'm very good at inviting myself places. That is
Yeah.
a skill I have. So then I just kind of forced my way in of saying, yeah, I would love to hang out with you. So then it just grew from there. And they invited more of their friends to the gym and we all just clicked. So there was
Mm-hmm.
kind of this core group of, 4 or 5, whatever, that we all just really clicked and we started hanging out outside of work. And then there was a point where Elle had a room, or at that point, we were close enough. I called her Chitty. She had a room in her house open up. I said, hey, what do you think about being roommates? Again, I literally just ask for what I want. So
Yeah.
that's a skill that I have. And so we ended up living together and then we became the party house. So between people at the gym, friends they had from high school or college kind of came in. And then as we started to get married and, date serious relationships, it's okay, well, let's bring in, hey, you're
Mm-hmm.
friends with Marin's husband's friends, or, like this person's
Yeah.
life, right? So it's just kind of, we've curated this friendship of random connections we've each had, and we've all just gotten along really well. And I think that it's just so cool that at this point now, we each just kind of take turns owning a get together or owning something we can do for one another. So, this meal train idea is just that we're in the phase of getting married, having babies. Sometimes people get sick. It's, I just said recently, hey, I think it's my turn to organize the meal train for Lizzie and Tyler, who just had their baby girl, Charlotte. So,
Oh.
and it's, yeah. So then, we each have a night in the calendar where we know, okay, we're going to go over and visit the baby. Or 6 months out, we're already planning when do we want to do our Valentine's Day dinner. So let's put it on the calendar now. And whose house haven't we seen yet? And it's just, there's never any expectations. It's just pure acceptance. And I feel really lucky that we all just accept each other as is and are okay if things come up. But we don't really put any barriers or boundaries on hanging out. You can bring your dog, you can bring your baby, you can bring your husband if you must.
The men.
If you must. And it's so nice. But that's one thing. So that's like how I have made a really good group of girlfriends
Mm-hmm.
here. And we have just maintained that. But I think another interesting avenue of making friends as an adult is work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an interesting place because you have to navigate, like, okay, these are my colleagues, but also we spend 40 to 50 hours a week together.
Yeah, like majority of our lives are
Yeah.
working.
So, you've got to be careful that you can't gossip as much, or you can't maybe say all the things that you want to say that you would say to your normal friends. But
Mm-hmm.
dang, if you don't enjoy their company while you're doing your work together, that's going to stink.
Yeah.
But the other thing I've tried to be really good at is that those who I've made a really close connection with at work is that I don't just drop it when I leave work. These are people that we spend time with. We built really cool things together. So what we've done is, like my friend Dorothy from Beta Rudder when I was at the agency life, every month we just have a reoccurring meeting over lunch. We have a book club where we talk about a book we've read or books we want to read. And then I have some other gal pals from Zimpro that I meet with once a month where we just brain dump and brainstorm ideas for work. Like, hey, I am having this kind of problem with the presentation. Do you have any ideas? So it's I don't feel guilty using my time during my work hours because it's either in place of a lunch hour to give me
Mm-hmm.
a break, or it's, hey, I'm still kind of networking with people who can help me spark ideas. So it's still maintaining those relationships and just getting together every once in a while to brain dump and get a breath of fresh air. It's and that keeps it easier knowing that once your workday ends, you don't still have to like try to maintain those relationships outside of work.
Yes, you are the plethora of information on adult friendships. And I love it because you really have just surrounded yourself with such an awesome group of people. And I love what you said about just almost like forcing yourself into the situation, right?
Yeah.
And again, if something doesn't fit, that's totally fine. Then you go your
Yeah.
separate ways. But we all get so caught up in what if I look silly? What if these people don't like me? What if I don't like them? You know what? You don't know unless you try.
Yeah.
And I think it's so awesome you did that of putting yourself in the situation or saying hi to people you haven't connected with in a long time because more often than not, we're all looking for some good friendship. So
Yeah.
I love that you do that because I even think I can maybe get caught up of in that situation of, oh, I don't want to say something. Like, what if it's silly? What if this is awkward? What if this is weird? But you've gone through so many situations proving that, okay, maybe some don't work out, but it can also turn into an awesome friendship that leads into this even bigger circle of people.
Yeah. So how have you between now your moves in Georgia and Florida, you
Yeah.
didn't necessarily have those ins like I had with, oh, I can call people I used to work with, or oh, I'm going to know someone from Memorial Park Softball League.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sports have tremendously helped us a lot. But I
Mhm.
also think that's where this conversation is beneficial because we have very different experiences.
Mhm.
And mine's, I'm not saying it's been harder, it's just been a lot different. I moved away from home after graduation. So I've moved now, I've been in the South 7 years, I've been in Florida about 6 years. We've been in what, four, I think five different places all
Yeah.
kind of within the same area a little bit in Florida, but I've never necessarily been permanent anywhere. And so that's made it tricky in terms of making friends that it's almost like, okay, is it worth it to make friends if I'm just going to be moving again?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's given me a different perspective. And also, I work from home and I work like with my team, but mostly alone. Alone majority of the day. And so that's where for me, I've had to almost get a little bit creative because I would consider myself, I guess, like an outgoing, bubbly person, but maybe I'm maybe not as forward as you in terms of feeling as confident and going up to someone or like, let's hang out, let's get a coffee, or yeah, just maybe not able. I could do it, and maybe this is the sign that I need to start doing that more. But for me, something that kind of surprised me is living in an apartment complex.
Yeah.
And Ruben and I moved into an apartment complex about 3 years ago, and I had never been in an apartment. We'd always kind of had houses, or yeah, we always lived very rural, right? And so there's just not a lot of apartment
Yeah.
complexes. But we realized that he travels a lot. He just needs to be near the highway. I just need good Wi-Fi. I was like, I am very lonely, and just also being honest about that, because when the house before that, we were kind of in the middle of the woods and it was literally just Hudson all the time. And I really didn't see anyone unless I went to the gym for an hour out of the day. And so I was like, I am just straight up lonely and this is really hard for me. And so just being honest about how you're feeling. And through that, we moved into this apartment complex where we made so many friends through the dog park. So getting a dog can also be helpful. But for a long time, almost for like a year, there was a core group of us that would always go to the dog park. And again, it almost seems silly. Like, I don't need to go to the dog park or I don't need to talk to these people because this group of people, we were all so, so different. Like maybe probably wouldn't be friends in a normal life if you just like got cocktails or something. But I
Yeah.
think we all knew, hey, we're all adults. We're all here kind of by ourselves. Let's be friends. And so
Yeah.
it was just encouraging it or letting it be what it was. And
Yep.
that was something that I've kind of learned now with moving a couple times and just never really being permanent yet is just all friendships don't have to be the same level of depth. They don't always have to be
Yeah.
forever friendships.
Yeah. I think I love that. Like, stop putting expectations on a
Yes.
friendship. Obviously, I have expectations for you.
Yes, like it is different
Right?
if it's,
Like,
very long-term
you
friendship
have
or
your like
siblings.
best friends who, what did we hear on Instagram the other day? it's not who's going to help you bury a body. It's who you're willing to tag in a giveaway on Instagram.
That's hilarious.
That is so funny because I only have my few, and she's like, oh, but it's you
Yeah.
have those core friendships, but just
Hmm.
like these new friendships as an adult, Em, you're so right. It's just go in without expectations and like enjoy each other's company. And maybe it's a coffee friend, maybe it's a dog
Yes.
friend, maybe it's a gym friend, and that's okay. That's like the time where you guys are appreciating one another.
Yes. Such good points of just, yeah, go into it knowing that it's okay if all of these mean different things and they all kind of have different parts of your
Yeah.
life. And that was being in an apartment complex really kind of taught me that because even now we do kind of have friends that fit into different categories. Maybe that I just hang out with individually, or maybe it's a couple like Ruben and I hang out with together. But that would be something that was a huge takeaway for me. And I know not everyone can just go to the gym or sorry, go to an apartment complex and just live there,
You're
but
like, who is this stranger in our dog park?
yeah, like, this is weird. So that was just something that I got very lucky with, but also going to the gym can be very helpful. I mean, that was literally where yours sprouted from. So
Yeah.
yeah, going to the gym has helped, or I haven't done in person group classes, but I think that would obviously be something that you can really make some solid connection with.
Hmm.
And extracurricular activities have been helpful. Golfing is
Yep.
something that I'm not saying we've made like a ton of friends from there, but Ruben's made some friends, and then maybe it's like we then go out with them. So just finding ways to get involved in your community as well,
Yeah.
even if it feels a little uncomfortable, or even if it's like, oh, I'm alone, is this weird? A lot of people really do just want to connect and have conversation. And I feel like it
Yeah.
may always really lead into some cool things if you let it, right? Don't place the
Yeah.
expectations on it and just be open to maybe allowing it to feel weird and a little bit awkward at first because it can really turn into some solid relationships.
Yeah. And I think really at the core here, it's you and I are going to places where it's going to be a group of people
Hmm.
with a common interest. Whether
Yes.
that be a dog park, we all like dogs. We're going to a group fitness class. We don't really want to exercise, we just want to socialize, but we know we have to do it.
Yeah.
Or DGA going to those events, or maybe it's church for you, or
Book clubs.
book clubs, coffee shops. So, I think like at the core of this conversation, it's we have found places where we can find people with common interests. You know,
That's such a good point. Yes. Surround your, and again, it can be easier said than done, but there's Facebook, right? Like go search groups in your local area of people that like books, or like a running club or an entrepreneurial group, right? Finding people that are like minded or at least have one similar interest. And more often than not, even that can be the thread of your friendship, even if it's not a forever thing. That's such a
yeah.
good point.
Well, so and whenever you like find these people and you make
Hmm.
friends with them, how do you maintain the friendship? And I mean, even if it's previous college or high school
Yes.
relationships, how do you maintain them? Okay, now we've done the work. But how the hell do we do this? How do we? Life is
Yes.
crazy. Life is nuts.
Yeah, because I think we also have to view it as it's not a chore, because sometimes it can feel like
Yeah,
another task on your to-do list of I
yeah,
have to reach out to this person. We have to like go do this, but keeping and maintaining these friendships and connections are so important. And that's where I have to give a shout out to my friends that I have been able to maintain. I feel like we've all scattered, and so that has also been different for me. Even if I stayed home, like where you live now, none of my high school friends are there. Most of my college friends are in different areas, are kind of all, a couple hours, but it still would have been something that I really had to work hard to maintain. And so for me, it's like you said, of almost just planning to connect, planning to see these friends. And whether that's a FaceTime, whether that's a call, whether it's just texting, or honestly, this sounds so Gen Z of me, but even Snapchat groups are so fun of just sending,
or like
sending,
Instagram groups, right? That's
yeah,
all we do is like send each other funny videos.
yes, just like showing the other person that you are thinking of them, or sending snippets of your day. And again, that can't
Yeah.
replace in person connection, but for a lot of the time, maybe you can't have those in person connections very often. So I think just showing that you are still thinking about this person and allowing space for each other as well. The cool thing with solid adult friendships, once you make that really good friendship, is that you cannot talk for a really long time because life is busy and stuff
Yeah.
happens. But then when you get together or you connect again, it feels like, oh, no time has passed. So kind of on your theme of not really setting expectations with it, but still planning out time to connect. And when you have the chance, even if it feels like it's potentially stretching you thin sometimes, go to that event where your friends are going to be, or take the girls' trip. If it's not something you get to do often, it's going to fill your cup. And again,
Yeah.
maybe it feels a little bit like stressful planning for it or whatever it may be, but it's always worth it. I always feel so much better
Yeah.
after being able to do those things in person. Like I was home for Christmas and Kara, my best friend from college, and she lived close to where we grew up now. And like trying to get dinner, it was kind of not chaotic planning it, but trying to find that window that's like, this is when we can hang out, felt a little chaotic. But I'm so glad we did it, right? Because it was so,
Yeah.
so worth it to be able to have the in person conversation and get to see each other again.
I think that that's a really interesting point is that guess what? You're never not going to be stressed.
Mm hmm. Mm hmm.
People will say, "Oh, well, we need to do it at a time where I'm less stressed," or, I need more time, or I need to get through this. You're always going to feel stressed, and it's
Yeah.
always going to feel like a lot, and it's always going to feel like it's hard to do. So I like your point, Emmy, of when you have the chance, even if you feel stressed or anxious or overwhelmed, you're probably always going to feel like that. Now, that's kind of like a dark outlook, but I mean, that's just life. That's
Life
just
is
being human.
crazy.
That's being a human, I think. So, but oh man, maintaining friendships is hard
Mm
because
hmm.
it's like you said, it's putting a lot on yourself. And I was lucky that, three of my best girlfriends that I've stayed close with after college, Amy, Ella, and Allie. And we don't talk a lot. I
Mm
mean,
hmm.
we send each other a lot of videos on Instagram, to be
Yeah.
honest, or Snapchats of, hey, here's a funny video about a mental breakdown because I'm having one today. Like, that's,
Haha.
haha, I'm surviving, but yo, this shit is wild.
Yes. Like, can someone relate to this, please?
But so, the in-person friendships and the work friendships are easy to maintain, right? But these long distance friendships, it's
Yeah.
what I have tried to do, and the best tip I've ever gotten is it was called mission control productivity. So it's super corporate, but it's taking something out of your brain and giving it a space in reality. And what that
Ooh.
means is literally, if you think about it, put a reminder in your calendar. Oh, shoot. Emily's birthday is coming up. I've got to make sure I order flowers early enough for them to arrive. So
Yeah.
I've made a yearly reminder on my calendar that alerts on the day of Emily's birthday is coming up, right? Or, hey, you know what? I really wish I could remember my friends' wedding anniversaries or their kids'
Mm-hmm.
birthdays, which is impossible to keep in my brain. I can't
That's
even
a lot.
remember my niece and nephew's birthday without a calendar reminder, right? So it's those things that are important to you and will make your friends happy because they would make you happy is put it in the calendar. Like
Mm-hmm.
my calendar is full of birthdays, anniversaries, someone's due date, like call Lizzie, text Lizzie about
Mm-hmm.
good luck having a baby, right? Which I hope
Good
that
luck.
doesn't, I hope if my friends listen to this, that doesn't mean like you're just another task in my day. It is just my way
It shows that you
of,
care.
yeah, it's my way of remembering and making sure that I don't miss things that I know are important to you because my brain can't keep them because I have so many things in my brain all the time that I have to give it a space in reality. And so then
Mm-hmm.
when I've put it I've now gotten so good at this that the stress is lower because I know I think I have something coming up, but I know it has a place, so I'll think about it then.
Yeah, it doesn't have to take up energy in your mind of constantly wondering what was that thing.
Yeah. So I I think this has been so good.
And I think if we could wrap this up before diving into our weekly obsessions, is also just saying that if you are in a season where maybe you are trying to navigate adult friendships, or maybe you just moved, or maybe you're in your hometown and you just feel lonely, and it's like, okay, everyone's got this whole thing figured out but me, or everyone's has this friend group, know that you're not alone. I think we all have those seasons potentially of just navigating this, of having to be more comfortable with our own company. And again, even if it's just going out to a coffee shop and maybe it's not exactly making friends, but just surrounding yourself with people is also something that helped me when
Yeah.
I was kind of in those moments, and just getting off social media and reminding yourself, okay, I know not everyone has this big, ginormous, crazy friend group with millions of trips every year. We're all just, yeah, figuring this
Yeah.
out. And it's okay and normal if sometimes that feels a little bit hard and lonely.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to say is I just realized you and I have husbands or almost husbands and a dog.
Yes, yes,
That's it.
yes. Get
That's
yourself a
it.
husband and a
Like
dog.
what we also don't understand what it's like to navigate this if you have kids that are at the age where they're super busy. So, you know, by all means, like this might not work for everyone, and we hear you and we see you. And whenever we're in that season of life, maybe we can check back with our followers whenever our kids are driving us crazy. And if you have any advice and are in a different season of life or in a different situation than Emmy and I, pop it in the comments. How do you keep and maintain friendships or make
Yeah.
friendships?
Heck yeah. Would love to hear how other people do this.
So,
Woohoo.
Emmy, what are you obsessed with this week?
Yeah, so this week we're going to talk about weekly obsessions. We did a couple hot takes. So now it's time for the obsessions. And I don't know how I haven't already talked about this. I feel like we've just talked about so many things, but I've mentioned it, I think, a couple times on this podcast that I love Sarah J. Maas. I love her books. I love fantasy romance. Oh, God, I could talk about that in its own episode, which we probably should. But I officially finished reading Crescent City 3, House of
Mm.
Flame and Shadow. It was her third book of her like newest series. And because of that, I am now done with all of the current Sarah J. Maas books, and I don't know what to really do with myself. So I guess my obsession has always been Sarah J. Maas, but I officially finished reading it, and I know some people listening might also be Sarah J. Maas fans. But I'm currently now reading Powerless. It's another series, another book, but it is good so far. So if anyone needs kind of like to cure the SJM hangover, it's a good kind of fantasy romance book to go into. It's kind of like it gives me Hunger Game vibes a
Oh,
little bit. Yeah.
okay.
Yes. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm just trying to not use all of my energy and time and thoughts thinking about Sarah J. Maas universe. So I'm trying to move forward and on to other things. And
That's fun.
quickly, two other weekly obsessions are about food. And I just got sent these products and they were just really good. And so I just wanted to shout them out. Ora Bora seltzer waters. They are like fruit and herb flavored, and they're honestly really good. They sent it to
Oh.
me from, it was either they reached out on TikTok or Instagram. Very good seltzer waters, and they're super cute cans. We talked about this last week. The marketing and the design is
Listen,
fantastic.
a cute can, a cute bottle, a cute bag, I'm in.
Yes,
I'm
and
in.
then Petite Pot Dessert. They reached out on TikTok. It's a kind of like French creamy mousse pudding custard type of dessert. It's very good, and they sent
Oh
me a
my
couple of
goodness.
different flavors. Yeah, you can get it at a couple of different grocery stores, but it's very good. I posted on my Instagram story if anyone wants to see what it looks like. It's just this fun little treat, and it's in a glass container, so you feel so bougie.
Remember whenever we got the Lafromme yogurt in Connecticut that was in a glass
Oh
or like
yes.
glass and clay cups? Listen,
Oh
container,
yeah.
y'all, container.
It was bougie.
It was bougie, some bougie ass yogurt.
Do you have bougie weekly obsessions or not so
Ooh,
bougie?
the one, you know what? One of them might be bougie or crunchy adjacent, as I would call it, is I have been obsessed with these Nature Valley coconut coconut butter cream bars.
Those
It's
are so freaking good.
oh my god. I
Yum.
cannot stop eating them. And it's only like 5 a pack. And you know what?
It goes so quick.
It's basically a rebranded Oreo with
Yeah.
coconut cream in it. Like this thing's an Oreo. There's nothing Nature Valley healthy about this thing.
It gives you energy because of
It is
the sugar.
so good. I have one a day with a glass of milk, of whole milk,
Mm,
and it is just decadent. I love it. And
they
so
are so
that's,
good.
I've been obsessed with those. You know, it's interesting the book. I haven't been able to get into Sarah J. Maas like you have, but I don't think it's because of the writing. It's
You
because
started with the biggest and hardest books. Like you dove into Crescent City before anything else, and
I
those are
was
her
like,
like craziest books to get into. They're the hardest books to get
I know.
into.
I remember texting Emily and saying the only book that's allowed to be this damn big is the Bible. Like,
Literally,
this
these
is
books are
insane.
huge.
But also, I'm not a physical book girl like Emmy is. I love audio. I love
Mm.
audiobooks. So I've gotten more into people whose books I like that are, read aloud. And one that I've recently listened to that I really loved was Remarkably Bright Creatures. And it goes between the perspectives of different humans that all come together in the end and an octopus at an aquarium. And the octopus
What?
helps them solve this mystery because Marcellus is so smart. It sounds silly, but it's
Yeah, I'm like having a hard time
well, I
understanding
mean,
the plot.
an octopus is pretty smart, right? So it's this woman's son who died, and it's a mystery because they think he like committed suicide by taking a boat out and drowning himself, but
Mm-hmm.
the octopus helps them find out otherwise.
Oh,
It's
oh my
just a really
gosh.
cute book, and it reminds me of it's written in the same way as Frederick Brockman, who wrote A Man Called Uwe, which is A
A
Man
Man
Called
Called
Otto,
Otto.
right? And Anxious People, which Anxious People I love because it's just we all spiral in our minds, and
Yes.
it just hearing it out loud how these people think and really getting into their own spirals is just I love that kind of writing more so I think than the fantasy type. However,
Wrong. You're wrong.
I love a good smut book. Don't
Yes.
I mean if Sarah J Maas, I think I might just switch to audio for those and I think I'll really love them.
Yeah, you would then love the last book of Akatar, and she's gonna have more, but it's A Court of Silver Flames.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you have to work through so many other books to
So
get
check
there.
back with me in like 6 years when I've made it through those books.
Yeah, it took me a year to work through my 16 Sarah J. Maas books.
And the last thing I'll say is the book wasn't one that I thought of, but you just like made me think of that is that I've never seen Breaking Bad.
Me
And so
either.
Joey and I started watching it. Wow. It's really good. It's stressful though.
That's the thing. You
It
walk
makes
away
me want to
like,
yeah, it makes me want to cook meth. It's the
okay,
same way
okay. I hope there's no law enforcement listening here.
um and it reminds me of like how much I love the show Weeds, which was from the
Oh,
90s and by the end of that I wanted to be a drug dealer and marry the Mexican mayor who led the cartel. So it's
well,
just
you still got time.
I still got time. Sorry, Joey. I'm more into drug lords now. But no, it's a really good show. And it's just nice having something that at the end of the day we always know BB time. Like
Baby
that's
time.
BB time. That's the end of the day when we watch our Breaking Bad episode. So
I've heard always good things about it, and I'm sure I would love it. Maybe we
and it
have to get
moves
into it.
fast, right? TV back then moved a lot faster and there
Mm,
so anyways, it's good.
I love it. Well, I'm here for all the weekly obsessions. And
Yeah, they've been good this week. There's
yeah, I
been
was
some
like,
good
okay,
ones
we
this
got
week.
food, we got books, and we got TV. We
You're
got
welcome.
all the recs.
You're welcome, listeners. You're welcome,
Now you've
girls.
lots of ideas to walk away from this. Amazing. Well, I am really glad we were able to have this conversation. And it's also just fun to kind of reminisce on how we do these things and even maybe for myself, walking away with some new ideas. But I hope anyone listening was also able to just feel refreshed on how you can approach this topic and area of life moving forward. And also, again, knowing that we're all just figuring it out. You're not alone in this. And
Yeah.
if you enjoyed this episode, as we always got to say, please review, follow, leave a comment. Let us know what you like. Let us know any ideas. And as always, thank you for listening.
Yeah. And have a great day, cowgirls.